In this episode of Restore It, I'm going to make some progress on the 325i Sport whilst I talk about my plans for the project and the channel as a whole moving forward in 2023. At the moment, this is actually where I am with the E30. Sadly, I haven't got loads of footage stored up, and the project isn't secretly finished like some of you have suggested. I've just been that busy with other things recently, it just keeps getting pushed to the side. So let's have a quick update on where it currently stands. Some bits like this battery tray have been done and are good to go, whereas some of my old repairs need to be redone properly. The rear inner arches are going to be either partly or fully replaced because they're both quite badly damaged, either from rust or from when the rear quarter panels were removed. These are glued on along the arch, which makes removing them a bit awkward. There is still quite a lot of undersill on the underside of the car, which has been an absolute pain to remove. Thankfully, I had a very interesting phone call the other day and I think my prayers have been answered. See if you can guess what I'll be using to remove it in an upcoming episode. There are quite a few old repairs of mine on the floor pans and around the seatbelt mounting plate that I want to redo. These are some of the first bits of welding I ever did, and thankfully I can now look back and laugh at just how bad they are and redo them. This time round I'll fabricate a single piece for this bottom corner instead of this monstrosity you can see here. The tail panel is obviously still missing, but thankfully I have one of those from E30 Garage Norway ready for when the quarters go back on. If you can remember back to the last episode of the project, I repaired the driver's side inner sill that was damaged from rust and the removal of the outer sill in Spain. In this episode I'm going to finish this side off and get to work on the other one, as the new outer sills will be the first full panels to be spot welded on in an upcoming episode. Before we get on with that, I first need to finish the second quarter panel that came from the donor 325i Sport I picked up a few months ago. I think it was during the last episode that I finished the driver's side. I trimmed anything that wasn't the quarter off of the panel, ground the paint and rust off, and painted it in Novol's anti-corrosion weld-through primer. And even after all of that work, only now is it ready to be fully repaired before it can be spot welded onto the chassis. The same must now be done for the passenger side, which I said I wasn't going to show you, but because I've been so busy recently sorting things out behind the scenes, I'm going to strip this one down and prep it in the background whilst I let you know what I've been up to. But before I do that, I want to quickly tell you about the sponsor of this episode, Roman. With Valentine's Day coming up, I want you to be feeling confident in and out of the bedroom, so whether you're dealing with erectile dysfunction or you're more concerned about lasting longer in bed, Roman's got you covered. Roman offers prescription ED treatments that are safe, effective and used by millions of men. You'll connect with a licensed medical provider via Roman's convenient online visit, and if prescribed, the medication is delivered to your door in discreet packaging with free 2-day shipping, so there's no need to go to the pharmacy or even visit your doctor. You can expect fast-acting results and stronger erections, and with my discount link, treatments start as low as just $3.20. So if you've been struggling with ED, Roman can help rebuild your confidence before and during sex. Just go to ro.co/restoreit today for 20% off your first order. You'll find the link at the top of the video description, which will take you straight there. Again, that's ro.co/restoreit for 20% off. Make sure you order by the 9th of Feb for guaranteed delivery by Valentine's Day. That's ro.co/restoreit for 20% off your entire order. Big thanks to Roman for supporting the channel. Let's get back to the E30. So with the Mercedes saga finally over and the new unit looking more like a workshop, I'm slowly but surely spending more time actually working on projects for the channel. I was so keen to restore an antique I'd been sat on for a while, I started the project, filmed everything, got to the point where I needed to paint it and only then realised that I didn't have a spray booth. I tried borrowing a friend's, but with limited time in the booth and so many other things going on, I had to postpone the project, which was meant for mid-January. But one of the things I've been spending my time doing is talking to different companies about spray booths. Because I'm not going to be spraying cars like I thought I might be, I don't need a full-size walk-in spray booth. I can easily get by with an open style one. I didn't even really consider these to be an option until I used Cerakote's open booth at their UK branch in Newmarket. It was so nice to be able to just walk up, spray some parts and walk away, without having to enter a room, put the full gear on and then slowly let the air clear like in my crappy homemade one. The extraction is instant, as you're spraying right at a wall of filters with air rushing into them. So after that experience, I was set on an open style spray booth. The only thing is, these spray booths require at least a 3 kW 3-phase motor to create enough suction to extract all of the fumes well enough. So another thing I've been doing is organising a power upgrade for the new unit, from single phase to 3-phase. The unit now has 3-phase and the fuses have been upgraded from 60 amp to 100 amp. All I need now is a new 3-phase meter which is being installed in the middle of Feb. Once that's installed, along with a few 3-phase sockets, I'll finally be able to upgrade everything. For the past 4 years of running this channel, I've been using hobby grade equipment, and although it's good enough to get the job done, I now seem to be spending most of my time fixing issues, be it the pop blaster, the compressor, the spray guns or the welder. These tools are not meant for commercial use. They just can't keep up with the demand anymore, especially after 4 years of constant use and frankly abuse. They're all starting to fall apart. I've been through multiple start and run capacitors and overload switches for the compressor and it's still cutting out on me. The DeVilbiss FLG5s have had 4 O-ring kits each and they're still not totally happy. The blasting pot keeps destroying itself at the main valve on the bottom, and the blasting cabinet leaks constantly and does a terrible job of extracting the dust. These are just some examples and there are lots more, so I've come to realise it's time to upgrade everything to professional grade. A brand new open spray booth is being manufactured right now and should arrive around the time the 3-phase power gets turned on in Feb. I'm also looking at a 7.5 to 11 kilowatt screw compressors with dryers. These will be able to run continuously all year if needs be, at 40 or 50 CFM. They're also a lot less noisy than my current piston one, and they're way more usable. The only thing is, they're also 3-phase, and they're about 10 times the price of my current workhorse compressor. Which leads me on to the pressure blasting cabinets with built-in cyclone filtration systems that can take that 40 or 50 CFM for mega blasting and can clear the dust with ease. I also had the pleasure of using Cerakote's VM55 dry blaster from Vixen, which was an actual dream to use. Foot pedal operated and about 10 times more powerful than my current setup. There was zero dust and the parts were blasted in seconds compared to minutes or hours in my cabinet. Visibility is 100% the whole time and the space inside the cabinet is about twice as big as my current one in terms of volume. I was actually shocked at how good it was. So I'm currently in talks with multiple companies who manufacture pressure cabinets. It's just a matter of choosing one that best suits the channel's needs. But once that's sorted, I'll be able to film shot blasting properly and get so much more done in terms of blasting and creating content. The recent project I started took me 4 days to blast, because the compressor can't keep up and it keeps cutting out. The pop blaster gets blocked a lot even though I filter the media, and it also keeps eating the bottom valve, causing leaks and delays for new parts. Some people have said why not get a wet blaster, and although this is something I plan to get in the future, right now I need a proper dry blasting setup to remove rust, old paint and other coatings, but also to accommodate Cerakote, something I'm going to be getting into big time this year. With Cerakote, you only need to degrease the part, blast it with aluminium oxide, clean it with air, and you're ready to apply 2 coats and bake if the series you're using requires it. And the thing is, Cerakote is ridiculously strong compared to other coatings. I've been to Cerakote UK for a training day and I'm absolutely shocked at just how good it is, so I'm very excited to get started with it. However, one of the things I will need is an oven for baking Cerakoted parts, and not just a standard oven, it needs to be a full length, high power industrial oven. So that's another thing I'm currently looking into. Another thing I could have done with, even in this episode, is a blasting room, a place where I can blast much larger things like this quarter panel and have the dust extracted. I'm currently working on a floor plan that I'll share with you in a coming episode, which would include a blasting room somewhere in the unit. So I think that about covers most of the short-term plan. I'm also looking at new welders, hydraulic presses, metal benders, spot welders and all sorts of things. The list is seemingly endless, but the main thing is I now know I need to upgrade the equipment so I can spend my time more efficiently. So with the second quarter panel stripped and painted in weld through primer, they're now both ready to be worked on. The passenger side does have a few dents in it, but overall I'm pretty pleased with how these are going so far. This side is almost perfect where it meets the sill, whereas this one looks like it's been nibbled at by a mouse. So there's lots of work to do before they're ready, but it should be quite a nice job to do, not having them attached to the chassis. So these are the panels that I've collected so far. The only ones I need now are the genuine outer sills and inner arches from BMW. All of these panels I currently have are from E30 Garage Norway. They make replacement panels that are almost identical to the originals, some of which you actually can't get anywhere else at the moment. It's hard to explain without showing you, but I don't need to use these sill panels anymore. The genuine ones cover the outside of the inner sill while sitting behind the quarter panel, whereas these patch panels are designed to replace just the outer layer, saving you from needing to do what I'm doing, but I've already gone too far to use them as they were intended. Instead I'll use them to repair the bottom fronts of the donor quarter panels. It's a bit of a mouthful and very hard to explain, but you'll see in an upcoming episode I can use these just to repair the quarter panels. I sort of ran out of time during this episode, but now everything is set up to do this work. I'll soon be back to weekly episodes. So getting back to the chassis, what I'm doing here is grinding down the rear of the driver's side inner sill. With those ground down, I can now cover the bare metal with bodywork primer. So that's this side finished with and ready for the outer sill. Moving on to the other side, this one is definitely worse than the first. There's a lot more rust and a lot more damage done from the outer sill removal. I'm going to start by removing the undersill on the back side. With that done, we can really see what's going on. It's a bit of a mess. Because this primer is weld through, I don't actually need to grind it off. I'm just doing this to make it easier to see the damage that's been done when the old spot welds are ground down. So here's some rust and some grinding of spot welds that went a bit too far. I'm going to remove any signs of pitting from rust and damage from grinding, and I'm going to repair as much as I can in one go. To get back into the swing of things, I'm going to start with this easier section. When I first started, and before I watched a single Fitzy Fabrications video, I thought it was a good idea to cut the rust out first and then try making a piece to weld in. Once I'd taken in only a few minutes of Fitzy wisdom, I realised how dumb that was, so now I always make the piece first if I can. Using the new piece to mark the cut should mean that nothing can go wrong. I started cutting, being careful not to cut into anything that's behind it. There were two areas that were spot welded to a piece behind, so I had to carefully grind them down in order to get it to detach fully. With the spot welds barely holding on, I could remove the bottom lip completely. the square piece was still holding on at the top, so I split it off with a panel splitter. With the old metal gone and the new pieces behind it still intact, I can clean them up and protect them for the time being before I weld the new piece in. The thing is, this bodywork primer is just a temporary solution to stop the metal from rusting whilst this work takes place. Once everything is done, the car is going to be either blasted again or dipped and then e-coated, so all of these surfaces will be properly protected in the end before any paint is sprayed. So with the new piece prepped and coated on its rear side, it's ready to be welded in. Looking back, I should have moved it ever so slightly down on the right side. Thankfully, this won't affect the new spot welds and the new panel at all, it's just very annoying for my OCD. Going forward, I'm going to double, triple check everything is exactly where it needs to be before I fully weld it in. As you can see, I'm now having to make this gap bigger for the weld. I should have cut my losses and restarted at this point, but I guess that's all part of learning. With the tacks done, I weld it in fully. And there it is. I'm much happier with my welds these days. They could be flatter, but I think it's down to the welder. I've been told it's not very good compared to the real deal brands like Miller, Lincoln, etc. Which is why a new welder is also on the list. So now I just need to grind these down and protect it with primer. There were a few spots that needed redoing, so I filled them in and ground them down. So with a lot of the behind the scenes things sorted out, I can now get back into making content for the channel and making real progress on the E30. I've got to do a few more episodes filled with repairs like this, going over each one quite quickly in the edit, and then we can move on to the full panels and actually get this car back to looking like an E30 again. With that painted, it looks brand new and ready for some fresh spot welds. That's all I had time for this week/month with everything going on, but join me next time for a chassis repairathon and stay tuned for some exciting content coming in 2023 here on Restore It. Thanks for watching, take care, and I hope to see you in the next one.